this fool, Jason Aldean, that manufactured asshole, who, in my opinion, he's not a good singer. But anyway, so Country Music Intelligence says it will no longer air the music video Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean after critics of the video said it contained lyrics that glorified gun violence and conveyed traditionally racist ideas, which the video does. And what pissed me off, because here's the thing, when I do research, I gotta go in. So I stomached the nerve to actually watch the video. And to me, it was very much anti-Black Lives Matter. And it was rooted in racist undertones and dog whistles. That's basically what I was getting a lot of when I listened to the song, based on some of the shots, and I have a lot of the historical symbolisms that's in the video. I'm glad the Advocate did this article because they laid it all out, Chad. So, what irritated me was that there were people that was in, because I read the comments too on YouTube, and one girl's like, "I'm a 40-year-old Black woman, and I watched the video, and I agree with everything that's happening here. I didn't see no racist this, that, and that." I said, okay, first of all, you don't have the vernacular to even understand what the fuck you're watching, probably because you don't understand history, let alone your own fucking history, because we live in a time now where we have people like that fat fuck Ron DeSantis trying to erase history and trying to teach all kinds of the recent story that came out about the whole slave thing where they benefited and they learned things from slavery. Now that's what he want to fucking teach in school. So you're out here trying to sell misinformation and trying to keep people from learning actual education of what's going on. And this is why we need, what I love about art is that a lot of the art that they're trying to ban basically brings forth a lot of the history that a lot of these politicians are trying to erase. Because I've noticed music, with music, with the videos, with biopics, a lot of these documentaries that's been coming out lately, we're learning the history of things that politicians are trying to hide from us. And there be times I forget something. I'm like, well, damn, I totally forgot about that when I learned that in school, because it's like when you've been out of school for so long and you're bombarded with so much information, you forget about things until you watch a documentary, you watch a movie, and it's like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. It's like a lot of people had no idea about the Tulsa Massacre until they saw Watchmen, the HBO TV series. When they talked about how the white people came in, Black people were creating Black wealth, and the white people came in and burned it all down and killed all them people. People were not aware of the history until they included it in a TV show. And like, that happened. So then that caused, watching that, did this really happen? Let me do the research and let me look it up. But like I was saying about that Black woman that made that comment, first of all, I've learned a long time ago that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So I wasn't surprised that some coon would jump in the comments and make that comment. And just because you're not aware of it, and just because that's not what you got from it, doesn't necessarily mean that's not what was there. So now on the surface, Try That in a Small Town checks off all the classic country cliched boxes. Small towns, guns, and pro-police sentiment. But when diving into the lyrics, coupled by imagery in the recent video, listeners interpreted a message that is at best was a dog whistle, completely devoid of artistic purpose and historic context, or at worst, the celebration of segregationist small town America, lynching and all. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomping the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Many commenters online noted that the word scene invoked the image of a sundown town, all-white towns in the United States that exclude people of color through threats of violence and lynchings, saying there is no non-racialized way to write a song about lynching. When Jason Aldean sings, "See how far you make it down the road," which I remember watching a lot of movies and stuff in history, they make it down the road. What happens? The car gets shot up and don't make it all the way down the road. The people dead. They get dragged out the car. They get hung, castrated, all kinds of shit. I've seen the movies. I've seen the documentaries. I remember when I went to away at a family reunion, and we went to like this Black History Museum, I believe that was in Maryland, Baltimore, and learning about the history of slavery and the things that the slave masters did to Black men and women, cutting babies out of their stomachs, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And we would see the graphic videos, the pieces of art that they made to show us what a lot of these people were doing during those times. So, what they said. Okay, so then while the lyrics don't mention race directly, which you don't need to. See, this is another thing too. People think just because you don't say the N word in a song, just because you don't show people being lynched in a song, just because you don't show all those things in a visual, then you can't be talking about slavery. There's such things called microaggressions. There's there's dog whistles. There's certain things you don't have to say it for it to be so. There's symbolisms, and what people of color have learned when you've grown up in a world rooted in racism, built on the backs of slaves, you are taught to detect the microaggressions. You're taught to detect a dog whistle when someone is discriminating against you for being black. So when white people can sit and deny and pretend things don't exist in history because y'all good at denying shit. I'm not saying all of you, I'm talking about the bigots. But if the shoe fit, bitch, that's all I'm gonna say. So you could deny and do all this other stuff, but that doesn't negate the fact that it is what it is. So the music video then features clips of the 2020 Black Lives Matter protest, showing protesters burning American flags and clashing with the law enforcement. Well, I'm sure they were burning those flags because they felt like America, even though, you know, we are living in this country, land of the free, home of the brave, as y'all like to promote, this world is built for white people to coast through life and not have to deal with discrimination and all these other things. But then, of course, Fox News will feed you other bullshit with they're coming to take your jobs, they're coming to do this, they're coming to do that. I'm not going to get in a whole list of what all of that is and what that entails. Social media is your friend. If you really want to dig in and peel back that onion, you can do that on what it is and when they would pit different races against each other in regards of situations of the historical context of, oh, they're coming to take a job. First of all, y'all motherfuckers wouldn't do the job anyway. So that's why you would bring certain people over. You had the Chinese building the railroads and this and the other. There's a whole historical thing. You could watch that whole thing play out on the show Warrior that comes on HBO. Well, I have HBO Max, so that's where I watch it on. But yeah, they unpacked that whole story about the Irish thought they were going to be out there building the railroads, and they sort of the Chinese would be cheaper, so they went and they brought them in, and they had them building the railroads, and it started this whole race war. There's a whole bunch of historical shit that this country has been benefiting and doing over the past centuries. So when you have black people burning flags, they feel like this is not a country that is for us. Y'all out here killing black people for going to the store getting a pack of Skittles and a damn drink. You're killing black people, pulling them over, for having a tail light. When you have to deal with Ahmaud Arbery driving down or going in a in a neighborhood and people chasing them because you don't belong here and you taking somebody's life over that, or you pull a black woman over and you shoot her. She ends up dead and nobody knows what happened. And then you got a man with a knee put on his neck for 10 minutes. And we see the footage. And y'all trying to act like, oh no, we didn't do this with this. Like trying to act like we not seeing what we see it in the footage. So when people are at their wits' end, how do you expect them to act? Protests aren't always, for the most part, protests are peaceful, but they're not always peaceful. And they don't need to be. But of course, I want to show one little aspect to just give credence to, oh yeah, try that in a small town. But here's the thing, them same small town people that you referring to, didn't they start something called a fucking insurrection on January 6th? Where was that footage? Why didn't you put that in the music video? Because if you're trying to be fair, it's about trying shit in a small town. You shouldn't have just only based it to Black Lives Matter people, but we get what the agenda was. We knew who this dog whistle was towards. This was towards a specific base of people. The Fox News set who have been lying to these people about the whole January 6th insurrection. These are the people that you're basing this song to. Those are the same people that was out there in Washington trying to find Nancy Pelosi and kill her. and all these other things because of the propaganda that orange asshole that's hiding out at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, who they need to hurry up and lock his fat ass up, was spewing lies and propaganda that a lot of y'all believed and still want to believe. There's people out here who literally think, and I saw this video, I kid you not, this dumb bitch was on screen talking about how Trump is president, Joe Biden in the White House is not really Joe Biden, it's a clone, and the real Joe Biden is dead. I'm like, what? Ma'am. Now, clearly the only thing that's dead on you is your fucking brain for you to even come up with this thing. But I feel like I'm going I'm going off base with all this other stuff. But I feel like all of this plays into the direct stupidity that a Jason Aldean likes to play into. He plays into that particular audience. So my thing is like, people burning those American flags are clashing with law enforcement. Law enforcement don't, y'all. I've seen law enforcement in New York escort the Proud Boys through our subways, not having to pay car fare, none of this other stuff. But let Black Lives Matter protest do. Y'all spraying pepper spray in the eye. I remember the time when who was it? The whole situation where the homeless black guy was killed on the train because this army dude or this military dude put him in a headlock. The big protest and stuff that was going on in New York, how they was treating a lot of the people with that lockdown, what was it, Lexington Avenue, that whole station, they was not letting trains come in and all this other stuff, the way the police was handling them, the way they've always handled the liberal protesters versus the way they handle how y'all just escorting the Proud Boys through New York like they're getting a fucking grand tour, and this is given to you courtesy of that coon we got as a goddamn mayor. I need his black ass going too. And I feel like I'm going on a tangent. I'm going on a whole political tangent right now. But anyway, to wrap this shit up, they said Aldean didn't even write the song. And this is what it is that I felt like because he didn't write the song, he could do some fucking denial bullshit. But when you're putting Black Lives Matter movement footage in the video, you had to know what they were doing in the video. When you're shooting the film, your music video in front of the Maury County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, you had to know what that was. And for those of you who are not aware, in 1927, the courthouse was the site of the burial lynching of 18-year-old Henry Choate, a black man who was dragged behind a car by a white mob and hanged from a second-story courthouse window. As Mississippi Free Press News editor Ashton Pittman noted, that's where Aldean chose to sing about murdering people who don't respect police. So clearly, you're racist. Jordan Neely, thank you. That I was talking about. You're racist, but you want to act like you're not a racist. And of course, we got Travis Tritt and all these other idiots out here defending him. And then I felt like there was other people who were just jumping on the bandwagon because y'all want to be clout chasers. But yeah, well, you can come to our town and you can perform that song and we'll play you on the radio. So it's like, just say you're a racist so we know where you stand. Don't try to play this off as, oh, y'all trying to destroy free speech. Free speech does not excuse hate speech. That is not what y'all love to run behind this thing when it suits your damn narrative. And y'all were the main ones that was talking shit about, whenever liberal people come out and they start saying certain things, it's like, oh no, you can't say this, you can't say that, and this, that, and the third. But then when it comes to, y'all with your little racist dog whistles, all of a sudden it's a violation against your free damn speech. No, you don't get to say things and root your bigotry and spread your propaganda and your lies and your bigotry and then try to be like, oh, it's a violation of my rights as a human being. Sure, you have the freedom to say whatever the fuck you want to say, but you have to realize there are consequences that comes with that freedom. There are consequences that comes with the racism that you spew and the things that you say that discriminate against a group of people. And that's what this video does. You know exactly what you were doing. You know exactly where you were filming this video. You cannot tell me you didn't know that you just all of a sudden just showed up and decided to just perform a video and you had no idea what song you were singing, where the locations you were. You have to do a whole shot list when y'all shoot music videos. I've done enough I've gone to film school. I've worked on movie sets. I've done these things. I know how this shit works. You're not gonna piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. So that's the thing that gets me with you white people. If y'all gonna, or you bigots, just bigots in general, because we got the Clarence Thomases and the Candace Owens and them too. If you're gonna say some shit, if you're gonna stand behind the bullshit that you want to spew, you need to own it and not hide behind it and try to act like you didn't know what the hell you were doing when you shot the video. Now, speaking of which, The View weighed in on the video as well. And this was on July 20th. And Whoopi said he talks about life in a small town that's different, and he chose these images. He's got folks with the Black Lives Matter movement, and he's talking about people taking care of each other. And I find it so interesting that it never occurred to Jason or the writers that that's what these folks were doing. They were taking care of the people in their town because they didn't like what they saw. Just like you saw, I mean, just like you talk about people taking care of each other in small towns, we do the same thing in big towns. You just have to realize that when you make it about the Black Lives Matter, people kind of say, well, are you talking about Black people? What are you talking about here? Sunny Hostin also noted what was evoked for me was those sound down areas. My mother and father, because they were an interracial couple, were run out of the South Carolina by the KKK. My father is still scarred from that experience. So don't tell me that not only was he aware of what he was doing by using that imagery, he embraces that imagery. Unfortunately, this became the #1 song on US iTunes. We have a problem in this country about race, and the biggest problem is we refuse to admit that it exists. So, there you have it. If y'all have not seen the segment, you should definitely check that segment out. But it's just like, yeah, don't try to hide behind your racism. If you're a racist, just be open about it. Just be honest. It's like, then we know where we stand with you. I just hate when people promote certain things and they think that we're too stupid to do the research and to actually call out the subliminals that you're promoting in your music and in your videos.